You're listening to the DFS On Deck podcast, brought to you by LineStar, the top-rated DFS tool set and #1 companion for DraftKings, FanDuel, and Yahoo Daily Fantasy. Go LineStar Premium now at LineStarApp.com. Now, here are your hosts, fantasy baseball experts Joe Pisapia and Chris Meany.
Hey, yo, what's up, everybody? It's me, Joey P, Joe Pisapia, and welcome to On Deck right here on the LineStar app. It's me, and it's not Chris Meany. No, it's Greg Landry. That's right, because Chris Meany is away. He has too many friends, all of whom are getting married, because that's what happens when you're from age 28 to 33 or 34. Everyone you know gets married, and you have to go to a wedding every weekend. So Chris Meany's too nice. Everyone likes him too much because he's Canadian, and he's in another wedding. So he's gone right now, but that's okay because our boy from LineStar, Greg Landry, is back in the house. Greg, how the hell are you, my friend?
I think I'm cursed, Joe. The last
What a
time I
great
was on
start.
the show with Chris, it was an awful pitching slate, and we spent a bunch of time trying to talk ourselves into Homer Bailey, and then here we are again. Homer Bailey is the third most expensive pitcher on the slate today.
You're right. I saw that this morning, and I remember that show. I did check it out because we're a team here at LineStar, and I did check it out, and I appreciate you filling in for me. I want to say when I was away with my kids on vacation, I want to say that's when that was, because
yes,
I try my best never to miss shows. I'm like that. I'm not like Andrew Luck where I just throw in the towel, if I'm just not feeling it that day. See what I did there? Oh, I stirred the pot. I'm kidding. It's a joke, everybody. I know, right? Take a deep breath. But you are right. Homer Bailey is back on this. It's like a ghost. It's like it's haunting you, Greg. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, Dan, if you're listening, you should probably stop letting me come on these because it just does not work out for anybody.
Well, look, I will do my best to police today. That's my plan. So obviously, you can follow Greg on Twitter at GP_Landry. So, Greg, talk about some of the stuff you do for LineStar real quick, too, just to pop you a little bit.
Yeah, I'm like the weekend coverage guy and the fill-in guy. I used to be the primary writer, but I had some changes in my personal life with my job and stuff. So Ryan Humphreys now has taken over those, and I fill in on weekends. I cover baseball and basketball on the weekends, and then I'll be doing a post NFL slate this year, which I'm pretty excited by. I did not do any NFL last year, so I'm excited to get involved on that side of things.
Yeah, speaking of NFL too, we got another NFL show coming out this week. So stay tuned for that. It's going to be the South show, I believe, is this week. And then next week we got the West coming out. So lots going on there. We're very excited. And look, it's the pre-snap show. So go over, subscribe, and get ready because we're ready. And of course, we'll have to record probably some of the Indianapolis Colts section. I mean, man, oh man. I know we're talking football, but I don't remember in sports a bomb like that dropping the way it dropped and how it did. And it's just mind blowing. But that doesn't matter because today is Monday. It's a new day. Yes, it is. And before we get after that, we're going to do a quick recap of yesterday. So Santander, 5 hits against the Rays. I've been plugging this guy, Greg, for, I don't know, the last month, I feel like. And Meany's been all over VR. He went yard yesterday, too. So even though the Orioles are giving up a ton of home runs, they're taking some back on the other side. And it's the top of this order that nobody seems to care about. And it's Villar and it's Santander. And these guys are still being productive.
Yeah, I mean, I think that Baltimore lineup, it's Baltimore and Toronto both kind of the bottom of that of the AL East. There's upside in those bats, even though their records are obviously not teams that you necessarily want to go after, but there's cheap upside in the bats if you can find them on the right night.
Yeah, agreed. We also had Francisco Lindor, his 23rd home run, Franmil Reyes with 2 of his own. He's up to 32, so that's incredible power production. Soler with his 36, but some bad news there for the Indians. Jose Ramirez, ham ape bone. That's never a good thing, dude, right?
No, not at all. He's probably going to be done, you would think, for the rest of the year, right?
How does this affect him going into next year, in your thought? I know it's like, well, he's got a whole offseason, but we've seen that injury kind of zap some guys from being the player they used to be. I've seen it, some guys have had multiple on each hand that's happened before, but this is one of those injuries that when I see that, I just kind of, I cringe a little bit and I go, oh man, this is not the best thing right now. And, especially because his value coming into this year was high and then he struggled early on. And I feel like he's kind of rebounding with the value just a bit where people are buying back in. And then this happens. And I feel like we might be back to square one. How do you feel about him heading into next year? Do you shrug this off, or is there a little bit of concern in the back of your head?
No, there's definitely concern. I mean, you hit the nail on the head. Just the trend with him this year, how he was one of he was a top 5 pick in most season long leagues, and he just has not lived up to that whatsoever. And now this happening, this could be the beginning of a permanent, downswing for him.
All right, Steven Matz lost at home, and Josh Donaldson hit 2 home runs, and that means that again I'm getting back into check of being a Mets fan. And saying, okay, good, we lost some more. Now I'm going to just temper my expectations some more and keep beating me back down to a place where I know how this is going to end and stop getting all excited about the Mets being good, because that's what happens. Aaron Nola lost, but Rhys Hoskins hit a dinger. So we got some wacky stuff going on. Eugenio Suarez was his 35th home run. This was another guy that started off pretty cold. And when you look up at the board, he's got 35 dingers. I almost feel like we're back in the PED days. Like everybody's hitting 30 dingers again, and I'm kind of loving it. I know some people hate it. It's like, oh, it's not baseball. It's like, well, you know what? But it's fun for fantasy.
Yeah, it makes it more exciting to watch. I don't exactly want to encourage cheating, but it does make it more fun to watch.
I do. I want to encourage cheating. I will supply it. It was great. The only thing is I wish the pitchers would get on it again. That's the problem.
That's fair.
Those guys need something, because these 5 2/3 outings, man, I've had about enough. Speaking of 5 2/3, Robbie Ray got a W. Robbie 5 2/3, as we like to call him here on the show. Dakota Hudson. I'm sorry, not Dakota Hudson. The wrong Hudson. My bad there. There was the Cubs and Nationals to 7-5. The Nats over the Cubs. Schwarber with his 30th. Another guy you look up, 30 home runs. Anthony Rendon, you look up 29 home runs. It's unbelievable. Mark Cano, who I did a write-up in the TQE about, he hit 2 home runs as well on Sunday. So, again, the bombs just keep coming. Machado, 27th. JD is 31st. Kershaw with the loss there. The Yankees outbeat Mr. Kershaw there. And Aaron Judge with his 16th. Judge has been a guy that we've been keeping, in our lineups because the price has been repressed. And it's always a matter of, hey, the talent is there, the power is there. Just give it time, keep putting him in lineups. And it's starting to pay off a little bit. Greg, have you had that same experience with Mr. Judge?
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know about you, but I'm pretty sure what we watched last night is a preview of October.
Yeah, that's what I've been saying as well. And last but certainly not least, oh my goodness, the bobblehead doll is official. 24 home runs for Jose Altuve, my boy Ariel Cohen, who is a man of his word. You can follow him on Twitter at ATCNY. He's a very good baseball guy. He does some writing for a couple sites, and we had a board bet that Jose Altuve would not hit 24 home runs. I said, of course he will. That's what he does. He hits bombs. And he laughed at me. He said, no way, that's it. And I said, if I win and he hits 24, I get a bobblehead of Jose Altuve. And he hit 24 before September 1st. And that was with a stint on the DL. There's going to be some champagne popped. I just want you to know when Chris Meany comes back, because we're going to bring this back again, because I'm super excited. And Greg, it's the one with Jose Altuve on the Iron Throne from Game of Thrones. So that's
that
the
makes
one.
it so much better.
Oh, absolutely. 100% does. So again, that's it. That puts that one in the books. We're going to try our best now to move on to Monday and not ruin our night with Homer Bailey. Now, look, this is a tough one, man. I don't know if there's one cash game arm out there except the guy on the Reds, and we'll get to him in a minute. But just with a quick look here, this is one of the trickier slates. And don't worry, Greg, I will take all the heat if things go wrong here. But let's start with Milwaukee, and let's start with Gio Gonzalez at home against Adam Wainwright. Again, I want none of these two guys in terms of pitchers. Let's talk about offense. What do you look at as good return on investment today in these lineups? Is there a way that you're going? Goldschmidt's been hot. He's still 3.7. What pops to you right away in this one?
Yeah, Goldschmidt is standing out. He's listed as one of the better values on LineStar. I've always been someone who followed the motto of death taxes and Goldschmidt against lefties. It hasn't been as automatic this year as it has been in past years, but he's been better in the second half. So he's one of my favorite bats on the slate.
Yeah, I agree with that. Keston Hiura is at 3.6. Mike Moustakas at 3.7. Those are good values there against Adam Wainwright too. I like Moose. Moose is another guy who hit 30 bombs this year that I feel like nobody cares about.
Right.
I feel like there's so many of them now. Now it's kind of going under the radar a little bit. On the DK side, how do you deal with this? Because we all know when you get to the Yelich, he's 5'8". It's very expensive. Keston Hiura has always been 5, which is amazing. They just it was like day one. I feel like Keston Hiura was overpriced over there, which is a shame. So how do you approach this on DK?
I think for me today, I'm going to lock in Sonny Gray just because I think you have to stop worrying about ownership and just have to take the raw points. And then I'm probably going to throw some darts at SB2 with some cheaper guys and hope for the best. And then that should free up some room to be able to fill in some of these bats and some of these more expensive bats.
All right, well, let's jump to Sonny Gray, because Sonny Gray is like the only guy that I feel like we can look at and go, okay. And he is 11-3 on FanDuel, 11-2 on DK. You're getting no quarter anywhere. You're getting none. It's like, we know he's the only guy. And this slate is nonsense, and it's going to be frustrating. But 11-2, I'm still all in, especially against Miami. I mean, it's going to be, like the ownership on this is going to be through the roof just by default. So I guess here's the question. Does it matter? Is this like the trap of all traps because he's the only guy and because everybody else is going to look at it as the ownership being high, and it's going to be best Sonny Gray lineup wins? So how do you approach that from an ownership standpoint? Do you care, number one? That's my question to you.
It's tough. My gut says you can't care because the slate is just that rough, and he's been that good. He's coming off 2 consecutive starts with 10 strikeouts. He's been lights out since the All-Star break, 32.1% strikeout rate, 1.68 ERA. I think the most impressive part about Gray for me is he's done it against some really, really tough opponents. Like he's been at Coors, at Wrigley, at the Brewers, at Atlanta. And then he's faced the Cubs and Cardinals at home as well. Like his last 10 starts have all been against, with the exception of the Pirates and the Padres, like playoff contending teams.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's the way to go on this. And I guess here's my only question too in this, because the ownership is so damn high. Is there anything, and everybody's just on it, and Sonny Gray is the only thing, blah, blah, blah. Is there any love at all for Pablo Lopez on the opposite side of this? Just in the one-off because of the swing that makes. Not in cash, obviously, but from a GPP perspective, is Pablo Lopez the guy tonight because of that?
I think you have to. It's...
And I mean, the Marlins showed up the other night too. Like the Marlins, every now and then the Marlins show up and they drop like an 8 spot on somebody.
Yeah, with Lopez, I'm not usually wanted to target guys coming right off the IL, but he was pretty solid before you went on the injured list. If you take out that one really bad start he had against the Mets where he gave up 10 earned runs, his numbers would be even better. He's cheap enough where I think he can pay off. I'm a little bit worried about how far into the game he'll go. I think he threw 70 pitches in his rehab outing, so he's probably going to be like in the 80 to 90 range. So it's risky, but given the options we have today, I don't hate it.
Yeah, I would agree. I think you have to think about it. And I think because he's coming off the injury, because of all those things you talked about, because Sonny Gray, all of that kind of, again, I'm not saying it's a single entry play, but in terms of multi-entry, I think it would be wise to have a Pablo Lopez share tonight. I feel like that's just the way to go, because the swing is so momentous if that happens, where sometimes you just got to go at the one guy on the board and just try to take him out. And if you can, because I feel like there's going to be a lot of Sonny Gray in tournaments tonight, because people are going to look at it and go, well, I'm just going to take this cash game lineup and flip it over into GPP just because everything else sucks. And if Sonny Gray has a big outing and I have the right Sonny Gray lineup, then I'm in good shape. The other guy that kind of, actually, let's stick with the bats here for a second, because I just want to point out on DK, Eugenio Suarez, 39, 3.9. What? How is that possible right now, considering what he's done recently? I don't care if it's a righty-righty matchup. I just don't care. Aquino is 4.7. God bless him. He deserves to be up in the 4s. But how is Eugenio Suarez under 4 right now on DK of all places?
Yeah, I don't know. A lot of these red bats are pretty cheap. So even as I talk about how I do kind of like Pablo Lopez, I'm definitely going to have my fair share of red lineups as well. Yeah,
and look, Pablo Lopez doesn't have to be earth-shattering. He just has to somehow get the balance of the ball and win a 3-2 kind of game. And that's right. Possible. Or a 4-5 kind of game. That's all that needs to happen here. But Suarez is 3.6 over on FanDuel side. Freddy Galvis at 2.7. Another guy who we keep talking about. He's just 4. Like Freddy Galvis is more than Eugenio Suarez. And that is one where tonight on DK, that's such a weird anomaly because their pricing's been so tight all year with offense. This one makes no sense to me. Let's talk about one guy too that we have to, from the pitching standpoint, that I think is also in play. And he scares the crap out of me all the time. And it's Jason Vargas. Now, Vargas, obviously not a big strikeout pitcher. Tonight's the kind of night where it doesn't matter. Musgrove has been terrible. This one's on the road in the little ballpark. I think there's a lot of reasons to feel like the Phillies are battling here and the Phillies are getting involved. And I think that's, something that I said was going to happen over time. When you put a lot of new pieces together on a team, it takes a while to gel. And I think that's what the Phillies were. Real Muto was new, Segura's new, Harper's new, all these new pieces. It just takes time. And they're starting to gel here in the second half, as was to be expected. Now, they got to win games when Aaron Nola takes the hill. You can't lose those games, but still, it is what it is. And we all know with Bryce Harper missing time and everything. But Jason Vargas tonight at 7.9 over on DK. It's 6.8 on FanDuel. How do you feel about him tonight, or is this a trap guy for you against Pittsburgh?
So I've been very much left-handed pitchers against Pittsburgh all season.
Right.
But I think on this slate, I think because he's probably going to be pretty popular, I think I'm going to go the other way. I think I'm going to call this one a trap. I have a lot of concern about Vargas. Has just been pitching out of his shoes recently, but all the numbers suggest that it's not going to last. I mean,
do they ever? It's like that same run he had in Kansas City that one year. Remember the beginning of that year where it was like, oh my God, he had like a 2 ERA. And we were looking at each other like, what the hell's going on? How can this possibly be?
No, right. I mean, since he joined Philly at 3.91 ERA, but a 6.18 Sierra, which is just screams regression. Only a 2.43 BABIP against him. He has 11 strikeouts with 9 walks and just 20. Like everything here suggests he's prone to get killed anytime now. I wish it wasn't Pittsburgh because I don't have a ton of faith in them, but I think Vargas is probably going to get a lot of love because it's a lefty against Pittsburgh. So I think this is where you can potentially differentiate yourself with all those other Sonny Gray lineups and go Pirates.
Yeah, that certainly would. I would not. I kind of lean towards with you like this kind of more of a trap, just kind of load up maybe on both offenses because Musgrove's been there's another guy too, started off pretty good. And then I don't know what the unraveling is or if it's just fatigue, whatever it is, injury. I don't know. All I know is that it's not been good. And that's a problem there. But yes, certainly from the bats perspective, you're getting discounts on guys on FanDuel like Starling Marte at 36, Josh Bell all the way down to 3.8. Remember when Josh Bell was like, in that high 4 range, like 4.8, 4.9, that's come crashing back down, right, Greg?
Yeah, he was over 5 for a while, and he's still in consideration on DraftKings. But it's just, this Pirates team has just gone complete opposite direction since the break.
All right, so Homer Bailey's in the next game, but he's going on against my boy Brad Keller, and I've been trying to, every now and then look for that Royals pitcher who has an opportunity. And look, this is one of those nights where sometimes you want to get a little crazy, get a little funky with things here. And Brad Keller's, look, he's not been terrible. He really hasn't. He's been a 6-inning pitcher. I think he is the underrated guy on the slate today. My problem is Oakland is just red hot. That's where I struggle with this. Now, I don't trust Homer Bailey at all, but I'm a little afraid of the Oakland lineup. However, we look at the last 5 starts here for Mr. Keller. It's 6 innings, 7-7-7, 32 total innings, 27 Ks, 9 walks, just 29 hits. So I do think Brad Keller is a pivot in cash game tonight. I really do. I know that might sound a little crazy to some people, but I think it's more just the default of how ugly it is and how limited you are tonight. Now he's 8.8 on DK, but at 8K on FanDuel, I think you could do a lot with your lineup. And I think he's a responsible quality start. He might not get the win, but I feel like he could possibly get that quality start, even though the A's have been very, very strong. So I'm going to bounce it to you, Greg. Do you think I'm crazy for this take, or do you think maybe this is another sneaky pivot away from Sonny Gray?
I worry about the strikeout upside and enough to pay off this high salary, especially on DraftKings. 8.8 is asking a lot.
On DK, I get it. FanDuel is where I'm intrigued by it.
Yeah, just one pitcher site. Your one pitcher being Brad Keller against Oakland. It's a little too rich and a little bit too risky for my blood, but I understand your argument. I just don't.
You can hate it. This is a free space, Greg. I know you and I haven't done shows together, but I don't mind. You can come at me and tell me it sucks. I'm all about it, man.
No, I mean the bottom line is nothing sucks tonight because the whole slate sucks. So
sure. Everything sucks pretty much except Sonny Gray. Yeah. Could you imagine that's where we're at in life? If I told you this last year, right? If I told you I don't know, like August 25th or 26th of last year, hey, guess what? Next year you're gonna have a slate where everything sucks except Sonny Gray. That's the one guy you want.
Right.
Oh man. But look, Mark Canha at 3.2. Still a guy, if you're not on the Brad Keller train with me. Matt Olson at 3.3. There's some significant power there, obviously, on the DraftKings side in terms of value, far less in terms of, Connor's up to 4.8 now. He's ahead of Olsen even. Chris Davis at 3.3. What a lost season I feel like for Chris Davis. It's becoming that, which is sad because this guy was as solid as they come, as predictable as they come. And then this year, it's just, for whatever reason, the combination of bad things happening just hasn't worked out, man.
Yeah, he's 3.3 on DraftKings. That's insane how low.
When do you start taking shots at him again? Do you or you just let it go now?
I have been. I've had at least shares of him in every night, just hoping that he just gets a hold of one and it just breaks the slate. But so far, it hasn't happened.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on to Alex Young versus Tyler Beede. I got no love for any of the pitchers here. So from an offensive standpoint, what pops to you on either site in terms of value or stacking, or where would you go?
I don't love the ballpark. I think that's what's scaring me off of this game entirely.
That's a good
point. Both of these guys, I mean, Beatty's given up 11 home runs in his last 6 starts. Like, everything says we should be playing tons of Diamondbacks, but I just hate playing bats in this ballpark.
Yeah, I hear you. I kind of agree. It's kind of a fade for me. So let's go with J Happ, who's also been a fade for me. And he's going against Seattle tonight. And look, man, it's the Yankee lineup is see, this is why I kind of look at it and I go, Brad Keller at 8, man, it lets me kind of get involved with the Yankees a little bit, lets me get involved with some of the Reds a little bit, lets me get involved in some of the lineups that I really like tonight in terms of potential output. And that's kind of where I guess the Brad Keller thing kind of pops in too. So I'm not in on J Happ tonight, not against the Mariners. I know, people say, well, it's the Mariners, whatever, but I just don't trust. I have zero faith in J Happ at this point too. Like, he's been such a train wreck all year. You're getting a huge discount though at 6.5. Do you like the discount on FanDuel enough to take that shot, or are you another no more J Happ, not taking any more shots on him?
I don't see how we can do it. 7.21 ERA, 1.64 WHIP, and only 18% strikeouts in his last 10 starts. Like, Seattle is a last place team, but there's definitely some pop in their lineup. I think I'm more likely to play Mariners bats tonight and hope that other people see J.A. happen and take shots on him, because pitching is so bad that they just see a name that they recognize and they're like, sure, let's throw this guy in there, and then I'll have shares of the other side. Yeah.
Look, I think that you're looking for the more Oppo love, where you're looking, okay, how can I get a little weird tonight? That's Seattle lineup. That's how you get a little weird tonight. And you just go right against J Happ. Maybe you get Austin Nola in there. Trying to think of where else. It's tough. It's because they're a more left-handed lineup anyway, and that's where normally this would go. Okay, well, I got a lefty even if he's marginal, but Happ's been so bad I just can't. On the Yankee side, in terms of value, not that much to be had anymore. Everybody's kind of up in the 4 range, so everybody, you're basically getting what you paid for. No one's out of control. No one's like 4.8 or anything like that. But pretty much, if you want a good Yankee bat, it's going to cost you $4K over there. Over on DK, same kind of deal. You're not getting much of a discount anywhere. Urshela in the cleanup spot at 4.3. You're getting a discount if he's there. Last but not least, Dustin May, who's 8.5 on DK, taking on Eric Lauer, who's 6.7 on the FanDuel side. Dustin May is just 6.2. Lauer is 6.3. So tell me about Dustin May here. We know the Padres are a lineup that strikes out. We know they're not the same without Tatis in that lineup. What do you think about Dustin May? My concern is, again, he's limited in terms of pitches, limited in terms of innings, and that always scares me that even if he pitches well, you might not go quality start, you might not go W just because of how the game shakes out. So what's your take on Dustin May tonight? Is it worth it because of the slate?
I mean, on FanDuel, yeah, at 6.2K, he's the second cheapest pitcher on the slate, so I'm not really worried about how deep he goes. I think there's enough there to pay off such a cheap salary. On DraftKings, it's a tougher sell. But you were talking about Brad Keller earlier. I think this is the guy that I would go with over Keller and take the risk that hopefully he can get at least 6 innings in here. He's been solid, in his 3 starts, 3.99 Sierra, 1.12 WHIP, 22.1% strikeouts, and only 3% walks. His numbers are skewed right now because he came in relief his last time out against the Braves and he got crushed. But his 3 starts, he's been okay.
All right. It's such a weird night, such a limited kind of situation where I'm with you. I think on FanDuel, I take the shot. On DK, I have a lot of hesitation. I'd rather go with Keller for about the same price because I feel like I have a shot there to get the W, where I think the Dustin May W is just tricky. It's just a trickier sell. And look, the Padres show up every now and then too. That's another team yesterday. Machado with the dinger yesterday. it's just they've had a lot of, when you take Franmil Reyes out of this lineup and then you take Tatis out of this lineup, it's just not the same. So on FanDuel, I really like it because you're getting the discount. You just pay up for all the big bats. You go to Milwaukee, you get your Yelich, you get everything else you possibly want. That's kind of my approach to these two guys. So from a betting line standpoint tonight, Greg, what kind of pops to you in terms of overs, in terms of parlays? What is it you got your eye on?
I actually haven't really looked
what's
at
your one? What's your one thing? Like when you say look at it and either an upset pick or the one thing where you go, you know what, I like this tonight, or you know what, just stay calm and Sonny Gray it today and just take the Reds.
Yeah, I mean, I'm actually surprised that Sonny Gray's in the Reds are only a -160. That seems awfully low for the way Gray's been pitching the games in Miami. It seems like they're giving an awful lot of faith to Lopez coming off of his first start off the IL. I would have expected that number to be a lot higher.
All right, so let's do it. Let's call our shot. Greg, since you are our guest today, I want you to go first. I want you to have all of your choices of the entire board because I think that's the right thing to do here as our guest. So who are you calling your shot with? Who's going yard tonight?
I mentioned it earlier, and I'm going to stick with it. I really like Paul Goldschmidt tonight against Gio. Goldschmidt has a history of smashing lefties. He's been much better in the second half. I just really like the park shift as well. The Cardinals going into Milwaukee. I definitely like Goldschmidt tonight.
All right, I'll tell you what. I'm going to go back-to-back with you. I'm going to stay there on the same team. We've tried this a couple times, and it's never worked, but I think, Greg, you and I have a special rapport. So I'm going to go with Marcell Ozuna right behind him. Take that, Gio Gonzalez. We're going to go back-to-back tonight. Well, look, at least the guys are going to go back-to-back. Just 2 home runs, one from Goldschmidt, one from Marcell. That's what we want. If they go back-to-back and do it, that's awesome. But I just want both those guys in the lineup, taking them deep. So there you have it. That is our home run calls on the show. And you can follow Greg over on Twitter at GP_Landry. You can follow me at Joe Pisapia 17. Greg, I want to thank you again for stepping in. It's incredible. I stepped in here for Chris Meany, who is out all over the place. He'll be back tomorrow, and he's out again later in the week because he's famous and he works for The Athletic, and he's flying around. He's like Ric Flair now. It's just really hard. He's getting very big for his Canadian britches, but no, I kid. I love Chris Meany. He's the best. So Chris will be back tomorrow, and we'll have obviously more DFS content for you here at LineStar. That'll do it for me and Greg. There's nothing left to do except step out of the on deck circle and into the batter's box and go yard. We'll see you next time, kids.
You've been listening to the DFS On Deck podcast, brought to you by LineStar. Hit subscribe, tell a friend, and stay tuned for the next episode from fantasy baseball experts Joe Pisapia and Chris Meany.